Okay, so you're asking about the numbers on the back of the popMATICS Pocket Guide. So this is a formula. It's also the fourth progression. I have 5 progressions in this thing that I call the Number System Essentials. This is the 4th progression there, and this helps students to recall and uncover the 9 most common chords that are found in popular music. Once you understand this takes care of like 90% of the stuff that shows up in 90% of pop tunes, and it makes the other 10% a whole lot easier to talk about when it shows up. So I will show you how to convert this for each key, and then I'll do a little demonstration at the piano so that it all makes sense. Okay, so taking this progression and mapping it out on paper, this is what it would look like. So again, you don't need this book. You can just do this on an index card for a student. But you get 1, 3, 6, 2, 4, 5, 7. And I'm going to color code these here. We're going to put the 1 chord here, the 4 chord here, and the 5 chord here. And then we'll do the bottom part there, that 53 we'll do after. So again, I try to get students to remember this, the numbers in white here. Remember it with phone number rhythm. 1, 3, 6, 2, 4, 5, 7. Ba, 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 ba. And that's, again, putting these into groups here. So if we do this in the key of C, we're just mapping it out. The 1 is C, the 3 is E, the 6 is A, dash, and again, just mapping out scale degrees. This is going to be D, F, G, and B. And so if we take this, the numbers on top relate to the primary chord. So if we take the primary chord, the 1, well, a 1 over 1 is just going to be a C chord. The 1 over 3 is going to convert to a C over E. The 1 over 6 is going to be a C over A, but in a chord chart, that's going to look like A minor 7. The 4 over 2 is kind of the same thing happening. You would have an F over D, but that's going to convert into the D minor 7. 4 over 4 is just F, 5 over 5 is G, and 5 over 7 is going to, I wrote 5, I meant to write G, is going to be G over B. And so those are, again, the most common chords that you're going to find happening in pop tunes. The other option here, the extension here, 53, is, again, these are what I call the alternate roots. So a 4 over 5, that's going to convert to an F over G, which in a chord chart will probably be more likely to see like a G7 sus4, but I usually write just F over G. And that's kind of your substitution for like a dominant 7 chord. It's more likely that you're going to get this like G7 sus4 rather than just a straight like G7 in most pop tunes. Depending on the genre, you know, if you're soul R&B type stuff, like you might get that dominant 7 in there. And then also the other one is the 5 over 3, which ends up being the G over E, which is your E minor 7. So that's your 5 over 3. And so that's the same math that's kind of going on with the 1 over 6 and the 4 over 2. It's just taking, you know, from a basic chord scale, you know, your 2, 3, and 6, which would be your minor triads, and you're just extending it, you know, to add the minor 7 there. So these become the 9 most common chords. So once you get used to hearing this and listening for these, you can identify them quickly, and then you start to recognize the things that fall outside of this, and then it becomes a lot easier to figure out what those might be, whether it's a flip tonality or it's a passing chord or, you know, some other type of non-diatonic chord. So that's it. So I'll give a little demonstration at the piano to show this, but one more thing that's kind of cool that you could look at with this too is if you look at something like the circle of fifths here, let me clear this out. You know, if you take this in the key of C, here you got your 1, you got your 4, and you got your 5. And then right here, you got your 2, you got your 6, and you got your 3. So those are all your minor 7s there, 4 over 2, 1 over 6, and 5 over 3. If you kind of go diagonally with it, you know, looking at those, again, that's looking at them stacked. C over A is an A minor 7, G over E is an E minor 7, F over D is a D minor 7. And those are the same numbers we just talked about, 1 over 6, 5 over 3, and 4 over 2. And if you kind of go this like diagonal way, you get all those slash chords. You get the 1 over 3, the 5 over 7. 4 over 6 is not really part of that progression. You don't see that as often, but you could do it. And it is part of something that I do in my Number System Essentials. Jackson, hang on 1 second, buddy. I'll be right there. So that's it for that. And then I also have, you know, another chart here where it'll unfold. Like if you go to the primary chord scales, again, I can show all that. Let's clear all that. And so these are those progressions. So it's, again, just taking the 1 over 3, 1 over 6, grouping them together. You're getting the 4 over 2, the 4, and the 5, and the 5 over 7. And then here are those extensions over here, the 5/3 and the 4/5. And so this is what those chords kind of convert out to. And these are also showing the shapes of the scale. So like a G major scale, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So you get all those bass notes and you get to see where the black keys are. So you can just kind of see the shape of each scale. And then again, seeing those the alternate roots over here on the right. So that's how it all kind of integrates with one another. Okay, so unfolding this on the piano. So you got your 1, 3, 6, 2, 4, 5, 7, and then I just complete it with a 1. So your first 3 chords are coming with a 1. You get C, C over E, A minor 7. 4/2 is D minor 7. 4 is F, 5 is G, G over B, C. So what we're doing is I'm just taking, this is the 4th progression in what I have that's a series, it's Number System Essentials. I have 5 progressions, this is the 4th one. The 3rd one is just primary chord scale. And this is basically taking the primary chord scale and grouping them together with the 3 numbers that go with 1, the 2 that go with 4, and the 2 that go with 5. And then we had those 2 alternate roots there kind of at the bottom, that extension, the 53, which if it's not a 1/3, then it's probably a 5/3, which is an E minor 7. 5/3 is the same math as 4/2 and 1/6. Those are naturally minor in the basic chord scales, and we're just, extending it out 1 to get that major or the minor 7. And then the other number is 4/5, which is kind of the pop version of a dominant 7 chord, G7 sus4. Much more common than just like the straight dominant 7 in I don't know, this happens, but it's much more likely, like if you're listening to a Taylor Swift song or an Ed Sheeran song, you're much more likely to get that 4/5 than a straight up like dominant 7 chord. And so the advantage of doing it this way is just, whatever you can do to a 1 chord, if you can add a 9 to it, you can add a 9 to a 1/6 chord. It changes it. Now it's the 11 on the minor chord, but it pushes the extension out, but that's basically why we do it. If you have a 4 chord and you want to add a major 7, you can do that to the 4/2. Because if it works on the 4, it's going to work on the 4/2, in most cases. So this ends up making it a minor 9. So that's the benefit to thinking of these, like stacking these primary chords over different bass notes. And then again, listening for those so that when you hear things that fall outside that, they become a little bit more obvious. But you can really kind of center yourself when you're learning songs by listening, by knowing what to listen for and knowing what are the most likely options to kind of go with those bass notes, which is what we listen for. We listen for the bass motion. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, let me know. But that's pretty much as I can kind of uncover in a short video like this. Okay, and so the last thing I'll mention on that is I've had students where, again, I want them to remember this with the phone number rhythm, 1362457. I've had other students say like this 145 is kind of like the area code to them, so area code 145, 1362457, and then this bottom part, the 53, they think of almost like an extension, so extension 53. So that's kind of a clever way to do it. It's a lot to remember, but I like just that 1362457, and I just ask them every week until like, do you remember what the phone number is? Do you remember what the phone number is? And I just put it on a little index card and I put it right at the piano. And so once they remember that, again, they listen for those bass notes, and helps them to kind of like uncover a lot of the chords, about 90% of the things that are going on in the songs that they like. Anyway, that's about it for now. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, maybe I'll catch you in the next video.